Welcome back to part 2 of my series where we're talking about the differences in having to raise both autistic and non-autistic kids. In last week's video, which was part 1, I discussed some of the struggles that I've experienced having to raise both autistic and non-autistic kids. If you missed that video, I will go ahead and mark it here in the card so you can go back and watch it after today's video. In today's video, which is part 2, I wanted to highlight some of the positive things that I've learned managing and parenting both sets of those kids. If this is your first time coming across one of my videos, hi. My name's Melinda, and I like to talk about everything dealing with parenting and all things autism. So if that sounds like something of interest to you, then please consider subscribing to my channel. Also, make sure to hit that notification bell because I don't want you to miss any future uploads. And make sure to share my content with anybody who you feel like might benefit from the content. All right, let's get started. One huge positive attribute I've gained from having both autistic and non-autistic kids is increased patience. Patience is needed in parenting anyway, but when you add on to that a child that has various social and emotional needs, who struggle and have problems at times expressing what's going on in their mind, it does require an extra level of patience when managing them and being a parent. There have been plenty of times where I've had to calm to myself, deep breathe, or think before responding. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that before I had absolutely no patience. But parenting autistic kids definitely strengthened my patience because I had to learn to view things through their point of view. How do they feel in these situations? Sometimes when they're feeling frustrations, instead of me getting my feelings and responding, I had to pause and feel like, okay, imagine how this feels for my child who's not able to maybe express why they're getting upset. Or imagine how it feels for them when the whole world seems like it's too much going on at one time. And I learned to calm myself down and be more patient in my responses. And so I feel like all of my kids have benefited from this. I feel like overall, my husband and I both have become a lot more patient when we speak to our children. We become a lot more patient when we respond to different behaviors or things that they do. And just overall, even in how we respond to people in life in general, my patience has definitely deepened. I feel like God knew that I needed this patience, so that's probably why he gave me the kids that he gave me. Another benefit of having autistic and non-autistic kids is that it allowed us to put some great systems in place. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. For autistic kids, a lot of them they like having know what's coming next. They like to have a certain regimented pattern to how their days are going. And so we easily realize even something as simply as whose turn is it to pick something on TV or who's next to take a bath could easily turn into a meltdown or a big issue when the autistic kids got older, because they weren't sure what was going next or whose turn it was, or they have a very strict sense of justice. So if they felt like they were treated unfairly compared to their sibling, that also might result in some type of meltdown or behavior. So we quickly learned to put some great systems in place in our household. And that has benefited all the children because it makes things run a lot more smoothly. So like I mentioned, for example, when it comes time for picking dinner, what we do in our house is we have our eat out night is on Fridays. So we rotate through from oldest to youngest who gets to pick. And it's made it much easier because the child already knows who's next in line based off of how we were born to know whose turn it is next. So if, say, Donovan picked a meal this Friday, then they know next Friday it's Andrew's turn to pick. Another great thing is like when it comes time to take a bath, we rotate through who goes first for a week at a time, and then it goes around and then it rotates again between the triplets, which are the younger 3 kids. So again, when it comes time for bed, there's no argument about why did I go first or it's not fair, it's their turn. They already know whose turn they are in sequence, and it's a lot easier to get through that nighttime regimen. So having both sets of kids allowed us to realize to keep them on their pattern for the autistic kids. It made us put systems in place, but it also benefited the other kids because in general, our house just runs a lot more smoothly overall. Another benefit to having autistic and non-autistic kids is I feel like my parenting style has really grown. And so what I mean by that is instead of parenting based off of how I was raised or how I feel like all kids should be raised, we are very much more intentional and individualized in the way we approach each child with parenting. What I mean by that is before, like I said, when I was a child, I was raised that a child is seen and not heard, you discipline a certain way, this is how you do things. But quickly having autistic kids, I realized this parenting approach was not going to work. And so we quickly had to individualize the way we responded to one child versus another child. So it made it to where we were looking at each child very uniquely. We adjusted every parenting style, even how we discipline. one child, all we had to do was say something and that would have the same impact as a timeout for another child. So it made it where we very much looked into the needs and wants of a child. We also were able to better assess what worked with them personality-wise to better fit the punishment, to better fit the things to help them grow and to thrive better as kids. And so I really feel like having both sets of kids opened my eyes to various parenting methods that before I had not considered, because I was based more off of culturally and also just how I was raised, and my husband as well. But when we had autistic kids and those ways we had before parenting were being ineffective and actually causing more problems in our household, more outbursts, more meltdowns, then we had to learn to adjust. And I feel like that is a huge benefit that we might not have gotten to if we hadn't had both sets of kids. And another huge lesson that I feel like I got from having both autistic and non-autistic kids is it taught me not to be so judgmental. Before I had autistic kids, I felt like there was a certain way you do things, there's a better way to parent, and if kids were out acting bad or what I perceived as bad, throwing fits, or the situation was, it was a result of bad parenting, and they didn't know what they were doing, and oh my goodness, why is their child acting that way? They must not know how to get their kids together. That could have been the furthest thing from the truth, and as I look back, I feel horrible the fact that I judged and had these opinions about these other people when I knew nothing. But having autistic kids humbled me, number one, and also taught me that there are various things and struggles people deal with, and you can't make a blanket assumption when you see somebody or a certain situation occurring with a child. And so having both autistic and non-autistic kids definitely taught me to be less judgmental and to be more accepting of people, more accepting of situations, more accepting of just the day-to-day and how things can go, and how that we all have struggles, and there are times when even a child who's doing their best is going to have a bad day and meltdown. And so I definitely feel like having both sets of kids opened my eyes to how judgmental I had been before, and allowed me to see that sometimes there are reasons that are not even my business to know why somebody's child is acting a certain way. And I shouldn't be quick to judge and assume that I know why it is. And instead, I should give them grace in that situation, maybe see if I can even help, instead of looking at them and having some snide opinion as, oh my goodness, about their parenting style. Well, these are just a few of the positive things that I've learned from having both autistic and non-autistic kids. But now I want to hear from you. What are some of the things you've learned positively from having autistic kids? Make sure to share those down below in the comments so we can start a conversation and share with the community. And also, if you've enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, why aren't you? Make sure to subscribe as well, and also hit that notification bell so you're notified whenever I upload a new video. I don't want you to miss, because I have some great content coming your way. I upload new videos twice a month on Sundays, so make sure to come back for future uploads. Thanks and have a great day. Bye.